In this video we will be looking at what is an atom and what is in one. Well, it's not very easy to say what an atom is, but atoms are found everywhere. They're the particles that make up substances. In other words, everything is made up of atoms. Solids, liquids, gases, living things, dead things, things that were never living, stars, rockets, eyes, trees, test tubes, Bunsen burners, tripods, gauzes, heat-proof mats, all of it. Everything is made out of atoms. But if it's a definition you're after, atoms are the smallest particles of an element that can exist. As we'll see in a minute, some things are smaller than atoms, so it's quite tricky to say exactly what an atom is. But you can think of them as being particles that everything else is made out of. So what does an atom look like? Well, you can't see an atom with your eyes, and you can't even see an atom with the light microscope. The most powerful light microscopes in the world would never be able to see an atom. However, there are other types of microscope that don't use light, and they have been able to create images of atoms that show they look a bit like that. Pretty interesting, I think you'll agree. Now, the reason we can't see atoms with our eyes is because they are so small. And atoms have a radius of about 0.1 nanometers, which is pretty tiny. It depends a little bit on what the atom is. So, atoms, from what we can see from the images, don't look particularly interesting, but we know certain things scientists have been able to work out over the last 250 years or so, quite a lot about the structure of the atom. So first of all, in an atom we have the nucleus, and that's at the middle. Now you will have heard probably of a nucleus in a cell, but it's important to remember the nucleus in an atom is much smaller than the nucleus found in living cells. And the radius of the nucleus is about 1/10,000th of the radius of the whole atom. So it's very small compared to the atom as a whole. And the nucleus is made out of two types of particles, protons and neutrons. Then outside the atom, there are some even smaller particles, and these are called electrons. I've drawn a shell here going around the outside of the atom, but in actual fact that's imaginary. It's trying to show where the edge of the atom is, but it's not really a thing and it has no mass. So just think about this. If the atom is 4 trillion times bigger than the nucleus, which it is, and if the only other thing in the atom is the electrons, then what is the rest of the atom made up of? Well, it's empty space. All this bit here of the atom is empty space. Now this drawing isn't a scale model. The nucleus is much smaller than the rest of the atom, but I couldn't make it, you wouldn't be able to see it to scale if I showed it in this video. So in actual fact, if every atom is made up of mostly empty space, that means that everything in the universe is made up of mostly empty space. You and me are mostly empty space. And in fact, some geek has even worked out that if you took all the people in the world, put them together in one place, and removed all the empty space from every atom that made them up, you'd be left with a sugar cube. Pretty interesting. Anyway, you won't get any marks in your exam for saying this, but you will for knowing this. You need to know certain things about protons, neutrons and electrons. So protons and neutrons have pretty much the same mass as one another. Now because they're so small, we just talk about their relative mass. That noise there was my pet sheep. Not really, I've got a clock that makes sheep noises. I hope you like it. Now, where were we? So, we have three types of particles, protons, neutrons and electrons. The protons and the neutrons have a very similar mass to one another. So we say they have a relative mass of 1. And electrons, normally you can just get away with saying they're very small, but there you go, they have a relative mass of 0.0005, if you really want to be precise. Protons are positive, remember P for P, protons are positive, neutrons are neutral, they have no charge, and electrons are negative. And in any atom and in every atom, the number of protons and the number of electrons are always the same as one another. Hopefully that's helped you to understand a bit about the structure of the atom. Up next, I've made a video to teach you how many protons, neutrons and electrons there are in any given atom and how to make sense of the periodic table. But for now, my friends, that is the atom.